What is up, guys? We are back for yet another episode of the Building a Buzz podcast. I'm your host, Justin Buzzi. This week, we have a special guest on. DeAndre Wilson is his name, and rolling tires, or a very big tire, is his game. Let's go. So today I am super thankful to have DeAndre Wilson on the podcast. DeAndre has a really cool story that I think will help people consider thinking outside of the box and doing something unique that will not only help yourself, but help others. So DeAndre, welcome to the Building a Buzz podcast. And thank you so much for taking some time to chat today. Could you give our audience just a brief introduction about who you are? And then we'll chat a little bit more in depth about how you've gotten to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's DeAndre Wilson. I'm from Evansville, Indiana. And if you're not familiar with where Indiana's at, we're just in the Midwest. Evansville is a small town or small city, big town, depending on how you look at it. But we're in the Midwest, about 6 hours from Chicago, and then 2 hours from Louisville, Kentucky. Here in Evansville, I have two businesses, Turntable LLC. My brother and I started that together. It's our catering business. And then I started my second endeavor when we had to put Turntable on hold, and I started the Keep Rolling campaign. And that is a fundraising initiative to help nonprofits and families raise money. And so I've been doing that in Evansville. And the way that I've done that is I roll a 230-pound tractor tire through the city of Evansville.
This man just said 230-pound tire.
Yes. Yeah.
That's impressive in itself right there.
Thank you. It's on my pinned tweet if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah, it's really cool. I definitely recommend everyone going to check out DeAndre Wilson's Twitter and check out that pinned tweet. It is a massive tire, and 230 pounds. That's not a light tire at all.
No, I hate when I drop it.
And how big is this tire, so people have an idea in their head of how big exactly this tire is?
So I'm 5'11", and you can't see me behind it when I'm coming down the street.
All right, so I would say that's a pretty big tire.
Yeah.
Man, that in itself is really impressive. I've heard a bit about the backstory, but I think obviously you're the best one to tell it. So can you tell our audience why you started rolling this tire and where this idea came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So my father, he was battling stage 4 liver cancer and colon cancer. And when he would get out of his chemo treatments, he would, get something to eat and then take off rolling the tire throughout the neighborhoods and throughout the city. And people would always text me and call me and say, hey, we seen your dad. We love what he's doing. That's so cool that he could be going through cancer and chemo and then still get up and roll the tire. And I was like, yeah, that's my dad. I appreciate all the support that he received. And I went on a few walks with him while he was rolling the tire. It was just a great experience that I'll always cherish. Through that whole process, our friends and family would say, hey, are you going to roll the tire? And I would say never in a million years. I guess it's been a million years because look where we're at now. So
what made you initially say no, that you weren't interested in rolling the tire? Was it, something personal to you, or, how has that changed over the last, I believe that was 5 years ago, correct?
Yeah.
So how has that changed from then to now, whereas you said you would never do it and didn't want to, and now this is, something that you're really heavily focused on?
Definitely. Once when Turntable had to be placed on pause, at this point my father is gone. I was thinking to myself, what the heck can I do now? Mm-hmm. I weighed 235 pounds. I wasn't where I wanted to be mentally or physically, even financially. I mean, my business is on pause. Mm-hmm. So, the entrepreneur came out, and then at first I was like, I'm going to go get a gym membership. And I was like, wait. I have my dad's tire. And so I started rolling that for about 3 months, getting muscle, getting in shape, losing weight, feeling great. And, being an entrepreneur, I said, you know what, this could be a way to fundraise. This could be a whole brand of it itself. I put together a small business plan, broke it down into about 5 phases. I'm in phase 1, and here we are today. So I just decided to do it. I just wanted to make a big change in my life, and I wanted to keep going as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love that, man. A lot of people don't realize how simple it is to take the time to just sit down and do a business plan. What often happens is people feel like they have this huge idea. They don't know where to start. They don't know the steps to take to make it happen. And really just finding a template online of a business plan can make the world of a difference. I mean, it's really not that hard to find a template and then go ahead and fine tune it yourself so that you have some sort of direction that you're headed. And I love that that's where you started. I think that's super smart of you to make that business plan. And now you're following that business plan. That's what it's all about. And you've been rolling this tire for over like 8 months now. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I started, rolling tire 8 months ago. The process of it itself was, really difficult, but, I did it. I wanted to keep my dad's legacy going. And so for the first 3 months, it was ridiculous. I had the fear of dropping it or not going to be able to pick it back up. Because, when the tire falls, you got to pick it back up. So there was always dreading that. It was maybe I may damage someone's car or something. There was that in the back of my head. So I would roll the tire at night to be at one with the tire. But I would say around that I'd say maybe the 5th month is when I started doing it, during the day and taking off into the neighborhoods. And it's been great ever since. And I mean, my motivation is keeping my dad's legacy going. And I've had a blast thus far. I mean, we talk about the glamorous side. There's also the negative side to it. But I mean, it's been a positive reception for the last 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, what a cool idea, something so simple. And I'm sure when your dad was going through all that he was going through, he didn't even realize the long-term effect that rolling that tire could have on you and that legacy that you're trying to continue. So I think it's just a really cool idea of how it all came about and how you actually have now turned it into an opportunity to fundraise and, just spread positivity to everyone. So when you're going around and rolling this tire, I'm sure you get a bit of some weird looks and some different looks. I don't expect to go outside of my house and see someone rolling a 230-pound tire. So what is that like? What is the first interaction with people, and how do you kind of go about that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So if an individual knew my dad and knew what he did, then the reception is amazing. It's beautiful. If they know me, just working in the community, then it's positive. But if it's a complete stranger, I might not even get looked at, or they may wave at least. If they see me enough, they'll pull up next to me if I'm walking, or run after me and want to have a conversation and talk about what I'm doing. Which is cool. I didn't ask to be put in this position, but I kind of was put into it. So, and what I mean by that is when individuals want to chase after me or want to talk to me and see what I'm doing, they will tell me some type of hardship they're going through in their life. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't ask for you to tell me that. I didn't ask you to be in this position, but I guess because of the impact my dad left, and then what I'm doing, people are so much more comfortable in telling me what they're going through. So that has also been something else I had to learn, and just being like an ear for the community. I've dealt with I've heard some pretty serious things. I could go on. That's a podcast in itself of all the things that I've heard.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, when I'm rolling around, people, I mean, some of them just don't like it at all. And I could be wrong about my opinion on why they don't like it at all. But I'll share it with you. But I think that is because I'm forcing them to look within themselves. So I encourage people to get out of the house and at least walk for 30 minutes. We should be doing some physical activity, 30 minutes a day, something, walk, run, yoga, lift weights, something. And a lot of people aren't doing anything. They're not taking care of their temple. And so I think when I, go across a busy intersection, those who aren't, they're immediately upset, and you can see it on their face expression. You can see it when they look away real quick. I think I'm forcing them to look within themselves. And if that's the case, then so be it. But I try to encourage everyone to do better. I really do.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I'm sure people have different reactions, but what a cool icebreaker for people to come out and notice, you pushing this tire around. And, for the listeners too, the tire has "Cancer Sucks" written on it. So there's instantly some sort of connection. I'm sure, so many of us know someone that have had cancer or are currently going through it. And there's already that instant connection just because of that being written on there.
Definitely.
So I can only imagine, the stories that you have behind that. And like you said, man, that's a podcast in itself right there. I feel like I would love listening in fly on the wall style to some of these conversations that you're having with people. And just the initial contact to me is really interesting and in a really unique way to network with your community and also raise the awareness too. And speaking of the awareness, what exactly are you trying to fundraise for, and what kind of awareness are you trying to spread in the community?
So with the fundraising and raising money, it's nonprofits where that have the kind of the same mission statement that I have, like if they line up pretty well, as well as families who are going through some type of form of cancer, and a parent or guardian or what have you has lost a job and can no longer make, ends meet. I can help raise some money to make sure they can still, get bills paid. So that'll take place in March of 2020 when the weather breaks, because it is super cold here in Indiana now. So that'll start. My first campaign will be in March of 2020.
That's awesome, man. I definitely commend you for what you're doing. That is just a really cool thing that you have going on, and it's such a unique idea, and it's such a simple idea. And I think those are the ones that really catch wind the best, the ones that people can get behind. And it's a fun thing to do. I mean, it's just, you, like I said, you don't expect to see someone pushing a huge tractor tire like that down the street.
Yeah.
And so what is like the furthest that you've been with this thing in one day?
In one day, 12 miles.
12 miles with that thing. That is, man, just walking 12 miles seems like a feat, but that's something. And how do you give yourself the motivation to make it that 12 miles? Like when you're at mile 10 or mile 11, how do you figure out how to get to that 12th mile and make it to your goal or make it past your goal?
Definitely. It's all about mental toughness and being able to lock in. And I talk a lot about that in some other interviews I've done, where mental toughness is key, and being able to lock in. So to silence that voice in my head that is saying, oh man, I want to be on the couch, I want to be eating, but it's like, no, I'm doing something bigger than me, and I still am trying to process that. So that's how I get from point A to point B. And then on top of that, I set small goals. So I'm rolling down the street, and there's like a car that's several yards away, that I'll make that my goal. Or there's like this trash can or this stop sign just a couple steps away. I'll make that a short-term goal. And because I've, in a way, zoned out or locked in, before you know it, I've gone past that small goal I set. I look back, I'm like, wow, I really kind of took off and didn't even think about it. Plus, my headphones are in, so I'm listening to the song or whatever's playing. So that's how I get from point A to point B, being able to just lock in.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, that's kind of how I look at businesses as well. Like, so many people, when they start a business, feel like it's this huge thing that they have to overcome. And, the big goal is always going to be there, but you have to set these small goals for yourself in order to get these little wins that really motivates yourself to keep going. And in your case, to keep rolling. I think there's a lot of similarities, in what you're doing to how people can grow a business. And I think that's really cool. And something that is unique to what you're doing is, it directly translates to how to grow a business. And you're out there talking to people every day, you're networking, you're meeting people, and you're teaching yourself the mental toughness that you need to, run a business and do this for yourself and for other people. And I think that's super important in what you're doing. And it's just really cool kind of how it translates into the business world. And I think that's pretty special about what you're doing. And just out of curiosity, what do you have like on your playlist when you're rolling? I mean, there's got to be some good songs or some good tips that, people may be able to listen to when they're in the gym or when they're going on their 30-minute walk.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so first, I've got a little bit of Kanye West on there.
There you go.
Got a little Jay-Z, little Drake. I got a lot of Travis Scott.
You can't beat the hype of Travis Scott.
You absolutely cannot.
You need it.
Stargazing definitely gets me going.
I love it, man. That's awesome. And so, do you have any idea how far you've actually rolled the tire? I'm curious.
I mean, in 1 month, I'll average probably 100 to 200 miles because I roll the tire for 2 to 4 hours a day, and I probably roll the tire maybe 3 to 4 days a week. So
yeah, that's a good distance.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, if you times that by 8 months, that is a long ways with that tire. And man, it's impressive, and I can't wait to see where it's going to keep going. And I feel like I need some sort of DeAndre Wilson tracker, man. I feel like I need to be able to go to a website and see how many miles you've rolled this thing, how much money you've raised. I think it's a really exciting thing, and I think it's something, especially in your local Evansville, Indiana community, I feel like it's something that people could get behind and really want to be a part of. And just for me looking in on the outside, it would be fun for me to, monthly or weekly check in to see how many more miles you've rolled the tire this week or how much more money or whatever it may be. But I just feel like I need a DeAndre Wilson tracker.
Yeah, so that's actually phase 2. Sometime in the next month, I'm going to sit down with a website designer, and we're going to craft a very unique and well-detailed website that will keep up with my tracking, will track my miles, how much money I've raised or currently raising. So all of that will happen soon, but that's the next phase.
That's awesome. We'll definitely have to catch up with you again in the future after these phases keep coming out and new things keep getting added. I think it's a really unique story that will be fun to follow along with. Have you heard about Mike Posner's Walk Across America?
I have.
And man, there's a lot of similarities there to me. And, his slogan or saying that he likes to say on all of his tweets or whatever is keep going. And, super similar to what you have going on. And I love the reason behind what he has going on and what you have going on. I was just curious if you followed along his journey and what you thought about his Keep Going campaign.
I have, and he's actually inspired me to think about how I can roll a tire cross country. Or I know in a recent article that our government has band together, like really trying to come together and create a pathway that will connect 12 states, and you can literally just ride a bike from state to state. And so I'm keeping up with that, because maybe I'll roll the tire from state to over 12 states.
Wow. Yeah, that would be awesome, man. It's just, again, I can't touch on it enough, but what a cool thing. And just to keep going and to keep rolling, to me, I saw some similarities when I saw what Mike Posner was doing, and then when I saw what you were doing, it was really cool to me. And I followed his journey along the whole way, so I look forward to following your journey along the whole way as well. And speaking of, so what is kind of your end goal? There's obviously a large journey that's going on right now, but is there an end goal, or where do you see this going? Well,
I've had a good start thus far. I'm working on a documentary currently, so that's going to open new doors, take me to a whole nother level. And, being 27, I have no idea where I'm going to end up with this. But, my dad was rolling the tire when he was in his 50s before he passed away. Mm-hmm. So one of my future goals is to be able to roll this tire well into my 60s. Maybe even 70s, and probably won't be able to go that far, but still be able to do it.
Yeah. Hey, if you keep going at the rate you're going, I don't see any reason why you would have to slow down at 60 or 70.
It's true.
You're way ahead of the game. And that's awesome, man. And so how has rolling this tire kind of helped build your buzz, whether it be personally or for your catering business or for any upcoming businesses that you have going on, or even just for the Keep Rolling campaign?
It's all the above. It's just getting the word out there, and it'll definitely help, because one of the other cool things that I've started is the podcast tour. And so that project is going on. The documentary is going on. All of these things are working together to help me to tell my story a lot better.
Gotcha. And when you say podcast tour, can you elaborate a little bit there? Because I think this is a big thing that people, especially starting out a business or even in business for a long time, should pay attention to, because this is something smart that I've picked up on that you've been doing. And can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, the podcast tour, here in Evansville, us as creatives and entrepreneurs really have to think outside the box, because our resources in the entrepreneurial world are very limited. So you have to really get out of the box. So this is what this community, unfortunately, we have to do it. Now, like if I was in San Antonio or Atlanta, it'd be different, but that's not the case. Mm-hmm. So this podcast tour, I really had to get out there, really had to think from a whole different perspective. But basically what I did is on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, I would type in podcast owner, podcast host, podcast, and follow every single person or brand that popped up, and reached out to them. This is what I do. This is who I am. And sometimes people will be like, yeah, absolutely, come on the show. Some will never respond, and some will say, no, thank you. And that's fine. You just keep going. And it's been a success. It's been going on for an entire year now. I'm going to keep it going. I'm not going to stop it. I may be well into my 60s still on the podcast tour. We'll see.
That's awesome. And do you have any idea how many podcasts you've been on since this has started?
I'm up to 17.
That's pretty impressive, man. That's almost like running your own podcast, but just through other people. And that's really cool. I know I've done it before, just searching your name on podcasts. There is a lot of podcasts that will come up with you in it. And I think that is such a smart way to continue to raise that awareness and also to get your name out there and build your network. Now you have these 17 different people that you can potentially talk to whenever you have something going on, or, you know, if you start your own podcast eventually, you can return the favor. And I think that's something that people in the business world need to do more of. Don't be afraid to reach out to people that are doing something that you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And how has rolling this tire helped you deal with rejection? Because like you said, there's been multiple people that either just don't respond or say no. And I'm sure there's been other instances in your life where people have done the same thing. So how do you think that kind of correlates rolling the tire to rejection?
So first off, you know, I'm African American rolling this tire in Evansville, Indiana. Let's just put that there. I'm disrupting the social norm. Mm-hmm. If you ever make it to Evansville, you'll understand that Evansville has this mentality of this is the way it is. This is how we like it. This is how it's always been. And when you push up against the norm, you're automatically frowned upon, kind of shunned. And then on top of that, let's add in he's black. So I keep going regardless. My dad did, regardless of his illness. He went. Of course, we lost him, but he refused to go without a fight. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna do the same thing. And it's so interesting that like those individuals who are against me are against me because they have no context of what I'm doing. And so after a conversation or after their best friend says, oh my gosh, he's amazing, you should talk to him, then their whole idea, their whole mind frame has been changed. And it's just so interesting to me that we had to go through all these hurdles when you just could have talked to me.
That's very insightful, man. And you know, it continues to prove the point that what you're doing is the right thing. And, you know, I think you'll continue to prove people wrong that might have these misconceptions. And, you know, the more that they see you, the more they can't avoid you, the more that they are going to want to be a part of what you have going on, especially when they hear about what it is and why you're doing it. And, you know, that's a big part of why I wanted to have you on here. I think people need to hear this story. I think it is just a really unique way to think of business in itself and to, you know, get yourself out there. And man, what a cool thing that your dad left behind without even knowing. And what a cool thing for you to get started. And, you know, I'm sure that he would be super, super happy seeing what you've done with this and how much awareness that you've brought because of this as well. So, man, I commend you for that. That is awesome. To wrap it up here, where can we find you on social media? I believe your Twitter is at DeAndre D. Wilson.
Yes.
Is there anywhere else that we can find you right now or maybe in the near future?
Yeah. So my Instagram is also DeAndre D. Wilson. Mm-hmm. Facebook and LinkedIn are DeAndre Wilson. And the default picture is me sitting with the tires, so you can't miss me.
Perfect, man. And do you have a like a Facebook group or anything like that where there may be like some sort of a community, or where do you want the most people to go? Because I want to make sure that the listeners that are going to go there are going to get the most out of it. Where do you feel like they should check first? A
combination between LinkedIn and Twitter.
Okay, perfect. I haven't linked up with you on LinkedIn yet, so I will definitely send you over a request. I didn't know that you were going hard on LinkedIn, but that is an awesome place for something like this. So I think that's super smart of you. All right, DeAndre. So again, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Building a Buzz podcast. Do you have any last words of wisdom or anything that you've learned along the way that you want to share with our audience? Just anything in general that you think might help someone that's listening.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to disrupt the social norm. Really put yourself out there to grow professionally and personally, and then never say never.
Perfect, man. Those are great tips. Again, you are doing awesome things. I can't wait to have you back on here in several months, sometime next year, and see where you're at. And again, man, I really need my DeAndre Wilson tracker so I can see where you are and how far you've been.
It's coming. It's coming.
I think that'll be really cool, and I'm excited to be able to follow the journey along that way. One last time, everyone go follow DeAndre D. Wilson. Make sure to let him know that you listened to his podcast episode with me. Feel free to reach out to DeAndre, man. He is a great person. He is very good at responding, and he definitely has some really unique perspectives on life. So, DeAndre, thanks again so much, man. I really look forward to following the rest of your journey into your 80s.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There you have it, guys. Our interview with DeAndre Wilson. Man, what a great human being doing some great things. I love stories like this. And if you know anyone that may have similar stories, please feel free to send them my way. Make sure to reach out on socials at J_Buzzi. We will see you guys next time. Peace.